Tom Curran's Patriots Talk podcast is presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome into Tom Curran's Patriots Talk podcast, the aftermath from the Patriots-Packers preseason game. Phil Perry alongside, as always. And, of course, the first thing to address would be the injury to Isaiah Bolden, which resulted in the game being suspended. And speaking to the players in the locker room, hearing the statement from the Patriots regarding Isaiah Bolden's condition, certainly it's a serious situation. He is on his way as we speak Saturday night to the hospital for tests and evaluation. We'll see if he returns to Boston, whether he goes with the team to Tennessee. But all that's really moot at this point in terms of trying to figure out what exactly the situation is. His teammates were very optimistic that they had seen him move and had seen his eyes open. Didn't really get into levels of response. But Phil, between Matthew Slater and Bill Belichick and Matt LaFleur, it's interesting to see how the league will accede now to the wishes of a team.
No question. And I think it really was sort of a no-brainer kind of move for the league. For the coaches involved. It's the preseason. You're just coming off of two really competitive joint practices where Bill Belichick told me when I asked him about, some of the emotional takeaways, he said it wasn't about that. We had almost 200 plays against these guys over 2 days. So you factor all that in. I think it's a relatively easy decision, but that doesn't take away from the credit that I think Bill Belichick really deserves. You could see it play out on the broadcast, Tom, here locally. They're zoomed in on Belichick and LaFleur chatting. I'm sure you're watching it as it's going on, but you can see very clearly Belichick toward the crowd of Patriots players say, Slate. And he calls them over, and they're very clearly talking about whether or not they should still be playing. So I thought it was the right decision by all parties involved. And I was surprised to hear, I guess I shouldn't have been surprised, but I was surprised to hear how appreciative the players were. It just tells you how shaken up they were by the whole thing.
All right. As for the game, Phil, I was hoping to do an exercise and keep it simple and just go through some of the good, the bad, and the interesting. And I wanted to start the good with a guy that I have been beating the drum for going on 27 months. Kendrick Bourne featured on the first play of the game, pass reception on a second 11. He picks up 13 down in the red zone. And then he also has a third down catch on a drive that was immediately thereafter ended by Sidney So, who led up a sack, strip sack. No, that might have been Stuber. That was Stuberific. But Kendrick Bourne also had the key block on the Ramondre Stevenson run. Phil, refreshing to see number 84 featured a bit, eh?
No question. I think especially because he's the kind of player who very clearly, to me at least, feeds off of positive momentum and positive emotion and positive energy. And the more good that he does on the practice field and the game field, and I think, just as an aside, he's been coming on for the last week and a half or so, like really making a lot of plays in practice, when for the majority of camp, the early part of camp, he was very quiet in some of these practices, Tom.
Yeah.
Wasn't doing anything. Wouldn't even be targeted. So good for him. And I think he's going to continue to trend in the right direction because he's that kind of guy who just builds off of positive stuff.
And those two catches too, that were conversions, that's what he's good at. I mean, he's not necessarily a burner. I think he could be because he's a long strider, but he's good at running a dig or running a quick inside move, and he's got excellent hands. Generally speaking, we can find anytime anybody makes a drop, but generally speaking, we saw two excellent contested catches from Kendrick Bourne, and the blocking was really, really good too. I'm going to kick it to you now. Give me a good. I'm sure we have plenty of overlap.
I'm going to go to the good, some of the scheme stuff that we saw today. And it's just, again, refreshing, I think is the right word, to see a play action shot on first down from Matthew Slater deep down the field to Devontae Parker. Now, it wasn't completed, but I just like the idea of the fact that the offensive coordinator in a preseason game is willing to show that kind of aggressiveness and specifically use play action. Again, it's a low bar coming off of last year. some of the things that, we will be impressed by in 2023. But I thought that was in some ways because of the play call and the aggressiveness and the type of play that it was. That was one of their better moments of the night, and it wasn't even a completion. So whether it's the little trickery, which I hesitate to even call it a trick, but the little shovel pass to Juju Smith-Schuster coming in on an end around out of the pistol formation.
Ooh, that almost went real bad.
Well, that is not the guy you run that. That's not the guy you run that play with either. I mean, he is not a amazing change of direction, acceleration kind of guy. No, but again, that happens sometimes. Can you make somebody miss? That's not his game to me. So I don't really know why you'd run it with him. I'd much rather see it with Pop Douglas or Kendrick Bourne. But the scheme stuff, the RPO, the Kendrick Bourne play over the middle that goes for 13 yards, very clearly an RPO, and it's not an RPO to a bubble screen, which is the only kind of RPO they really ran last year. Now they're running things down the field off RPOs. Good for them.
Christian Gonzalez, to me, I thought had a good night. Now, watching it from 230 feet away and one replay in live time on the telecast, it looked to me like the ball was underthrown and that Gonzalez had not gotten his head around in time. So that 21-yard PI or whatever it was, and the interception that was not, all wiped out by a defensive pass interference. But clear that up for me. Was it a bad call?
I didn't like the call. I'm sure that is the correct call. The way you're explaining it, that does make sense to me.
Did he get his head around? I had 9,000.
Well, he got it around in time to make a play on the ball. I mean, he sees the ball, he makes the play on the ball. He basically tip drills it to the guy for the pick. So I didn't see the thing that I made note of was when there was contact, he really didn't push off. But because the receiver's slowing down and because he's running in the opposite direction, there is a collision there and the receiver bounces off of him. But if you watch, I don't know if he did this consciously or not, but there's no extension of his arm whatsoever. So I thought it was a little ticky-tack. All that aside, Tom, maybe the most important part about that play for when the games actually matter is I thought he got beat initially on that snap. And he got low like a cat, and the lights went out in the room that I'm chatting to you from.
Come back on.
Will they come back?
Up over your head.
Are we sure it's not a voice-activated light and I said the word low and they just dimmed? I don't know. I actually think I look great in this lighting right now, so I'm just going to keep it rolling.
Sultry.
Got low like a cat and accelerated out of that low athletic stance and got right back in the play. And so that's the kind of change of direction ability that he has for somebody with his length that is rare. It does make him a unique athlete in some ways. So I thought that was a good play by him. And also the hit along the sidelines, the guy that a lot of people thought didn't want to tackle at the pro level, but he didn't look like that kind of player to me tonight.
No, he also had a stick on a third down play. I mean, it was not a difficult play. I don't think the guy that had the ball was very elusive, but he broke down, made the tackle 5 yards short of the sticks. And the play you're talking about, he ushered someone out of bounds in not a very tender way. So I thought he had 3 different plays where he made good contact plays, which are just worth noting because of the skinny on him and the question as to whether or not he was somebody who was going to accept contact. Kayshon Boutte continues to make a case in my eyes to overtake Tyquan Thornton. He had the touchdown catch. He had another nice dig route. He always seems to be in the right place at the right time. He's always out there. He catches virtually everything that's thrown his way. He's another one to the good.
How many receivers you keeping, Tom? This is starting to get a little dicey. And isn't it funny that a team like the Patriots that has for so many years had a hard time finding receivers in the draft, apparently, found 2 in the 6th round. And now they've got Devontae Parker, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Kendrick Bourne, who are going to be kept. I think Tyquan Thornton is going to be kept just because he's a 2nd-round pick, but maybe there's an injury situation there that they can figure out a way to sort of stash him. Pop Douglas and Kayshon Boutte. That's 6 guys. We haven't even talked about Malik Cunningham, who's been working out primarily at receiver. And I think they should keep because of his potential quarterback. Is there any way they find a way to keep all of these guys?
I mean, you get 53, you could do whatever you want with we'll stay light
Get
here.
53 receivers.
Yeah, I mean,
Why not?
Tyquan Thornton at tackle.
If you're going to be a Bear, be a Grizzly.
So it's going to be fascinating to watch play out because there's very little about Kayshon Boutte's game that's making me say, yeah, I'm not seeing him as a fit right now. Very, very little. We'll get to some of the stuff that I do think with the receiver room is a little bit disconcerting when we get to the interesting. But your appraisal of Mac, I thought he was good. I thought he stood in under pressure, delivered the third down throw to Bourne. He had the second down throw to Bourne. Couple of completions to Demario Douglas. He also had a nifty little scramble on the inside, I thought, to pick up 4 and get yourself down to the 3 right before that slow developing, even though there was a hold on it, that slow developing fade to Devontae Parker. But they caught a break there. But your overall appraisal of Mac?
Yeah, I thought he was, you're pointing out some of his work under pressure, which I thought was pretty good. The throw to Bourne was probably the best play. Finding Pop Douglas wide open, it felt like the Packers must have screwed something up there, but it seemed like that was not his first read. Got to him again where it felt like the pocket was collapsing a little bit. I didn't mind the scramble. Now, it's not like we had a bevy of replays at our disposal, so I don't know if he missed an open receiver as he was sitting back there in the pocket, but he's got a willingness to create some yardage, especially escaping up the gut in that way, and protected himself with the slide. So I didn't mind that play. I thought he was okay there. The 2 misses were the one that I referenced earlier, that play action shot to Devontae Parker. I'm still not really sure why that missed.
I don't either.
It looked like Parker maybe stopped running a little bit at the end of his route, but it's hard to tell. It's not like he's a burner anyway. And then the miss to Hunter Henry up the seam. Was that on Henry, like wrong route? Henry kind of put his hand up and kind of patted his chest a little bit. So I don't know if he's taking blame for that or what, but there was still some meat left on the bone for him. But I thought it was a representative night from Mac tonight. Yeah,
put that under the interesting, and let's just throw in an interesting right now. The Devontae Parker play was odd because from that perspective that you're watching, you can see it unfold, bird's eye view. I'm like, oh, he's open. Well, the throw's there. Oh, why didn't he catch it? But it didn't look like he slowed down, but it didn't look like he sped up and extended. It was like, I'm not catching that one. So it was odd. Maybe he thought it was further than it was, or he didn't want to do a Tyquan Thornton and dive for it. Be that as it may, it was an interesting play, and that's your one. That's your X. That's your elite guy in a room of elite guys, and you want to see your elite guy say, "Oh wow, look at our guy! He went up and he made that play." Didn't happen. Last 2 guys, we're gonna have to go with Barringer, the punter, and also J.J. Taylor. What I liked about Taylor's game is he is so intuitive in the passing game. He really seems to understand pass protection. And he was in with Zappe, and he picked up a blitz on the left side, ended up leaking around to the right side, and got a little check down from Zappe. And I think he turned it into an 8-yard gain. Do you know the play I'm talking about?
Yes, I do. Yep.
Yeah, it was kind of nifty. He did a lot of shit on that play, Phil.
He did a lot there. I saw a nice little spin move from him in sort of a confined space that helped him find some extra yardage on a carry, I believe. He's shifty. He's tiny. These guys are hard to find sometimes for defenders. What I appreciate about JJ Taylor is that he seems to always be available. At least he has been this summer. That's not something that Pierre Strong is right now. And maybe with Strong and Ty Montgomery being down, Tom, maybe there's a spot on this roster for JJ Taylor. I mean, if you have Ezekiel Elliott and Ramondre Stevenson, do you really need Kevin Harris on the 53-man roster? I think it might help you to have a passing game kind of back.
I agree.
So maybe that's JJ Taylor. I don't know. I feel like they have kind of established in their building that he's kind of a practice squad NFL roster bubble guy. But
they had so many opportunities last year to bring him up. And it just never seemed to happen. That's why I was like, okay, they're not in on JJ Taylor.
I wonder if it's, if you're going to be the third running back, you got to do something on special teams. And I'm not sure what he does. He did catch a punt tonight. But but he's probably like their fourth option as a punt returner. So maybe that's all it is he doesn't do a whole lot else.
All right. And 2 javelins into the night by Bryce Behringer, which just enough said, 261 yarders, and both hung long enough to let the coverage get down there. God bless them. Hey, football season is about to kick off, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to win all season long, because right now, when you bet on a Super Bowl winner, you can get bonus bets every time that team wins in the regular season. Just pick any team to win the Super Bowl, and you'll get bonus bets for every victory. You can use bonus bets on spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/NSBO and start earning bonus bets with America's #1 sportsbook. That's FanDuel.com/NSBO.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Hope is here. GamblingHelplineMA.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support, Massachusetts. Call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. 21 plus in present and select states. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino LLC. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit FanDuel.com/RG in Colorado, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Tennessee, or Virginia. 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342 in Arizona. 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. 1-800-9-WITH-IT in Indiana. 1-800-522-4700 or visit ksgamblinghelp.com in Kansas. 1-877-770-STOP in Louisiana. Visit www.mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. 1-800-522-4700 in Wyoming or visit www.1800gambler.net in West Virginia.
Let's go to the bad. Sacks, given up, uncontested kind of sacks too, which really hamstrung the offense. It's disappointing to see. Although Zappi didn't take any. Mac took 2. That was 2 of them, Stuber and City South. But there was a lot of, but there was a lot of business going on back there for Zapster.
What did you think of the sacks for Mac? And again, would love to, with some time.
No shot on City Sos. None.
That was just inescapable.
I felt that way because it was you had to be conscious of protecting the ball, and City just kind of never got in balance. He didn't have a punch, and the guy was kind of just brushing through him like a mall security guard in a friggin' stampede.
And it felt like that one, the only reason I wonder on that one is because it was coming from his front side.
And it was just one guy, right?
And it was one guy. And I just wondered, and I do think maybe there was some other sort of trash around Mac Jones's feet in the pocket there. Maybe there was nowhere for him to go.
He just got crumpled. You know what I mean? It was like a lounge chair. It's like he was on him and it was like, holy shit, the guy's on me. And I didn't see the Stuber one, to be honest. I was in the bathroom.
Appreciate your honesty on that. The Stuber one was a quick loss from the blind side. And, you lose the ball on that. You'd rather not have that be the result. But boy, he got squished on that one. And because the ball was rolling around on the ground, I think it was Carl Brooks. It's a young defensive lineman for the Packers, sort of took the liberty to just belly flop right on Mac Jones's back while he was on the ground, and he was slow to get up. And I'm sitting there saying, and we know, he didn't get injured. Apparently he was at the podium after the game. He spoke and whatever.
I talked to him briefly in the locker room. He seemed fine.
Okay. But just the idea of having a guy who might not be on your practice squad as a tackle be the left tackle in front of your starting quarterback for a team that wants to make the playoffs and make some noise this year in a situation where the hitting is live. I do question that decision. Like, why can't Trent Brown be out there for 4 more snaps? Just because we're into the second quarter now, he can't be out there anymore. And you got to have Andrew Stuber, who hasn't played a real NFL snap, Tom. And again, I think he's their 7th tackle, playing left tackle in front of Mac Jones. It just doesn't seem right.
Yeah, it's something we talked about before is, when Trent Brown goes out, when Trent Brown isn't available, the rest of the offense is kind of held hostage because of the lack of depth behind him. Maybe Calvin Anderson comes galloping in on his white horse and, everything's all fixed, but I tend to doubt that. Also, stick with the bad. We had some of the depth corners got tuned up by Jordan Love. And we also, to me, didn't get a great performance from Bailey Zappi. He had the slant touchdown, but he went 10 for 22 for 117. 42 of those came on the slant touchdown to Booty, which, hey, you got him in the end zone. That's terrific. But the touchdown that he ran for was a full-on, the entire left side of the Packers defensive line just decided to just try and collapse in. There was nobody on the right side. He just could walk in there. But there were two dig routes to Malik Cunningham and Raleigh Webb. They were just behind those guys. And it's playing darts. Simple. Pitch, catch, set your feet, boom, right in the middle of between the numbers. And on both of them, he made them reach. And there's going to be a defensive back hitting you on that kind of a play. So you can't have the guy reach, and it turns into a yard sale. Inaccuracy, indecisiveness, Phil. I think that was something that showed up for you in contrast to the Booty play some other occasions.
Yeah, and I wonder if the accuracy gets cleaned up if he's given more consistent opportunity. Although in these practices, he is getting a lot of reps. So I'm not trying to make excuses for him, but those misses are odd to me too. And when one of the few things we know you can do as a, from a physical skill set at the position standpoint is accuracy, I still kind of want to give him that. It's the decision making to me that just has me curious as to what's going on out there. And it's not that I'm saying he's making bad decisions, because I don't know. I can't see if there just aren't people open or what's happening. But for somebody that's built like Bailey Zappi, your game can't be a scramble drill quarterback. It can't be pat, wait, step up, slide around, roll out, throw on the run. Like, there's too much off schedule stuff with him out there. And I thought it was instructive that the play of the night was he got the ball, he made his read, maybe one pat, and he ripped it over the middle of the field on a slant, and the guy took it to the house. Like, that's the kind of quarterback he has to be, on time, in rhythm, trust the play, trust your players. These guys aren't going to be running free down the middle of the field for you to take a big shot. And it just feels like he's been kind of waiting for the perfect play sometimes. And I'd rather see him be a little bit more aggressive the way I thought he was on that one ball.
It's funny. I wonder if last year's offense suited him better for some reason. I mean, it always suits you better when you're up 29-0 or whatever they were against Cleveland. But this indecisiveness is surprising, and the lack of accuracy is surprising. And then, he just started flinging downfield. It was triple coverage that he threw to with Trey Nixon. I don't know what he thought was going to happen, but I'm watching it from above, and there was one guy, then two guys, and then here comes a third guy. I'm like, it's not a play that's going to work. Now, did they tell him take a shot to Trey Nixon? If he did, God bless him. But Trey Nixon probably broke his arm.
It looked.
That's an armchair diagnosis by me.
I think they said shoulder. I think they announced shoulder, but it didn't look good.
Yeah, one of the things from on the right side of his body that hangs down isn't good. He also mishandled a snap. Zappi did on a screen. He couldn't get his hands on the ball, and then he did what he often does, is the little sidearm thing that he whips out there. That was very nearly a pick six. And I think because of that side arming stuff, if there ever is film on him, a defensive coordinator is going to say, look, he does not throw overhand, and he does like to throw sideways. So if you see that, make sure your hands are ready, because it's going to come in low.
And
do you know which play I'm talking about?
Yes, I do. And it got the pass did get batted down, right? It was right into the flat there. I'm trying to think now. I'm pretty sure it was Zappi. I don't think it was Mac Jones. I'll have to check back on my notes. But Sean Wade basically made a one-handed interception in practice the other day on that exact type of play. I don't know if it was the same play call or what, but it was into the flat, little screen, and he just went, and it just stuck in his hand, and it would have been a pick six in practice. So, yeah, the bottom line for me on him is we know the skill set is limited. If you're not going to be accurate and you're not going to be a quick decision maker and you're not going to take care of the ball, we got real issues because he's not making plays of the explosive variety that would make up for those kinds of occasional miscues.
A little bit of the interesting to note, then we're going to put a cork in this. Excuse me. I don't know what happened to my voice right there.
Put a cork in you.
Yeah. Why are they throwing 9 times to Malik Cunningham?
I think
5, but
so yeah, it's interesting. I did see the jokes on Twitter, people saying that Bailey Zappi just really wants to wear out Malik Cunningham so that he can't steal Bailey Zappi's job. I thought those were funny.
Oh, damn, he's getting up.
I don't think that's what was happening. I do think the Patriots want to find out if he has enough value at some of these other spots to get him on the roster and buy him time as a quarterback prospect potentially. And in the meantime, well, we can use him as our backup to the backup receiver. And we could use him as a kick returner even. And we could use him as a gunner. And we could do all these things with him. It does make me feel the number of ways in which they've used him, Tom, tells me they like him enough that I'm going to do a roster projection tonight and he's still going to be on there. And I don't know what primary position his position would be, but maybe I'll just stick an ATH next to his name. You know how they do that with college prospects coming out of high school, athlete. Maybe I'll just do that from Malik Cunningham because I don't know where they're going to want him.
Demario Douglas feels like a flex. So, yeah. Looking at the defensive stats, Jelani Tavai, 4 tackles. He plays good. He was the signal caller, too, at the outset of the game with Juwan Bentley on the sidelines. So, kind of a quieter guy in terms of we don't talk about him a ton. Oh, Josh Uche didn't have a great play tonight either. I was disappointed with that, him losing the contain on the right side on the touchdown run for, was that Sean O'Clifford or was that Jordan Love? Or was that a run? That was a run, actually.
I think it was a run. Yeah, again, I don't want to make excuses for these guys. That's just not his game. That's just not who he is. You know what I mean? He's just come in on third down, come in the 2-minute and just go get the quarterback. That's just who he is. I think he's so undersized to play on the edge. He's just, I don't know if he's ever going to really be an edge setter. And I think that's okay. I'm okay with that. What I was a little bit curious on was the fact that he was out there relatively late into the game.
Yeah.
Meaning he was working against some backup tackles and he really didn't make any noise as a pass rusher. So that was confusing to me.
Yeah. Well, worth watching when Phil gets to Tennessee. The Patriots will be traveling directly to Tennessee, and Monday will be an off day. Tomorrow we'll get Bill Belichick around 2 p.m. on conference call. I won't be there. I'm on the plane soon thereafter. But Phil will be heading down to Tennessee, and he'll have practice on Tuesday and Wednesday. Thursday will be an off day for the Patriots, and then Friday they'll play that football game. So for all the best coverage between you and me, Phil, I mean, I'm tired actually. You've been doing yeoman's work for us out there, so thank you for that. I'm going to write something tonight. Probably just write the same stuff I just talked about, though. Maybe I'll write it in the morning. Should I go morning? Yeah, right in the morning. It's already 1 o'clock. Yeah, and you got to do your friggin' roster projection. All right, love you, and thank you, Skull Crusher, for your efforts. And we'll talk to you soon. I'm supposed to take a couple days off this week because we got to move this week. Just to give you some insight into the personal current situation. It feels like, oh my God, Tom, it's 1 o'clock. Let me do my roster projection and get home to my family. Moving. Did we give you that book? Yeah, you did. Yeah, it's the best. Good book. Going through cities. All right, that's Freight Train Moving. Not sure exactly who wrote that book. Phil, good work. Skull Crusher, love you. Talk to you guys very soon. Appreciate you.